Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jessica Abernathy, and with me today is Trisha Montgomery, and you are listening to Pets Are Family. Hey, Trisha.
Hello, Jessica.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm traveling for us.
Yeah, I'm not at home either. We both have different backgrounds today.
Me too. I'm in my hotel room, so if you see some pillows, apologies for that. I'm not sleeping on the job. I'm just in my hotel room right now. Yeah, we got
well, I'm at a friend's house. It'd be like, Justin, get rid of the pillows. Sorry, Justin. We love you.
We're so Pets Are Family and Moose's March is at a lovely conference called the Brand Forum. We got an invitation to be here. It is one of like the place where you make connections for marketing and sponsorship, and it's like a who's who of the marketing world. So for some reason, we got an invitation.
Yeah, you're there, and I'm not. That's your jam.
How does that happen? I always get elected to travel. I don't understand that.
I don't know. I say no.
Because you say no.
I say no. I don't.
Pick me.
No. Yeah, you're like, I'll go.
Yeah. I'm in Atlanta. It's kind of cool here, fun. Staying at the W Hotel. A little bit cooler here, but it's nice. So, yeah, I'll be traveling through Saturday. So, but that's obviously this will air after that. But we have a lot going on, don't we? We definitely do. We had our webinar for Mrs. March that went over fantastic. Just so appreciative of everybody showing up for that. And wow, that was incredible. And we're continuing on our discussion on pet cancer.
We are. We're going to talk to one of your friends tonight. I haven't met her yet, so I can't wait. And you know what I mean? So she sounds like a lovely lady. So we'll see how this goes. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. Yeah, but I think, to circle back half a second, because I think we're going to have a great conversation tonight. But the webinar that we did on last Thursday was a hit. And we're going to have it. Justin and I were talking briefly today. We're going to have that out. We're just trying to fine tune it. We want to make sure it's perfect because we're going to share it. But it was a hit. I mean, it was a really big hit. I mean, we knew it was going to be a hit, but it's a big hit because there's a lot of people that want to do some more with us. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that want to, on both avenues. There's people that want to hear more and there's people that want to work with us, which is like, you want to watch me do the happy dance in my chair?
And you remember how nervous I was about that. I mean, you were literally talking me off the ledge last Thursday. My stomach hurt. I didn't eat. I was just in knots. I was so nervous because I was like, what, and it was nothing to be nervous about. It was absolutely
I kept telling you.
Phenomenal. Everyone who showed up from, Dr. Butera, Tom Butera, Rebecca Timmons, Tanya Cooper, Nina from the Association of Pet Loss and Bereavement, Dr. David Stansfield. It was just so on point. And Steve Dale, thank you for moderating. Wow, what a beautiful topic. We've had so many people for Q&A and just want to know more information and questions. But Jessica, who the heck is Justin? We're giving him a shout out and nobody knows who Justin is.
Justin! Sorry, Justin's going to get a lot of those. So Justin's our producer. So Justin is like way behind the scenes. He's with Market. Well, no, it's not Market Race. What is it? Yeah. Thank you. It's just Justin. Justin and I. He's my buddy. He's the guy that makes this all pretty. He makes all the little pop-ups come up. He's the one that makes he makes it pretty. So if you noticed in the beginning, from the beginning of our videos to now where they look fun, okay, Justin. That's all I have to say.
Quite a difference. Justin. Quite a difference. Yes. Can he Photoshop some stuff on me? Can they do some things like that? Maybe if I have any wrinkles that they can get rid of those.
Probably he could. Who knows? And I hate to say that because next thing we're going to have like a hat on us. You wait. You know,
I
but
love it. I love it.
you
Oh my gosh,
know,
that's
so we can always
crazy.
tell when who actually watches the whole thing because it's like, Justin, fix that.
Oh my gosh. So
Justin
we're
is a doll. So anyway, we love Justin. Justin's our favorite. We
Justin,
love
I love you
Justin.
too. So we're going to bring out Kathy Stone. Kathy Stone, actually, I met
Mhm.
her. She was part of Canine Fit Club in the early days, and at that point, she had brought Brighton was her first dog, a
Okay.
beautiful English Golden Retriever, gorgeous white dog, and she did the Today Show with us. She did
Nice.
every news she was part of because she was one of our regular attendees for Canine Fit Club. She's an accomplished author. She has written Brighton Morning. She's written so many books on her journey. Both she and Brighton are actually cancer survivors. And Brighton has
Wow.
passed on, and then her husband passed on. She's an educational psychologist. She does bereavement counseling, but she's going to share with us her journey on her own cancer for breast cancer and those feelings, but also talking about Brighton and pet cancer and knowledge. And I can't wait to talk to her. So let's go ahead and bring her on.
Well, let me go get her.
Hello, Kathy Stone. Welcome to Pets or Family Podcast. Such an honor to have you here. Welcome.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here and to share information, anything about pets. You know, I'm on board, Trish.
I love it. So, Kathy, you and I have known each other for quite some time. You were part of the early days of Canine Fit Club, and you actually had your dog Brighton with you at that time. And then we got to know Snowden as a puppy. We just talked about that. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about you and how Brighton came to be in your life.
Well, I'm an educator, very hardworking kind of person, and I got surprised in 2002 with the diagnosis of breast cancer. And when you're silently diagnosed with cancer, it just kind of pulls the rug out from under you. And so I went through the whole process of diagnosis, making decisions about cancer, and then going through surgery and chemotherapy. So it was from the original diagnosis, which was in the end of June, until the following March. It was a saga of going through all the various processes. And when you go through those processes too, you have no idea how it's going to turn out. And here I am 21 years later, and I'm still here. And I had no idea that would happen. And so I'm blessed, and I'm here for a reason, obviously. So anyway, after I went through the treatment, and then I had 5 years of special medication and so on, I started to go into the bucket list mode, which is where people that have no idea how much certainty they have, they start to say, well, what do I really want? What do I still want to do? And so on. And what I really wanted at that time, suddenly I was in Switzerland. And what appeared on a cable car to me was this white dog that absolutely enchanted me, to the point that I didn't know what the dog was, and I had to find out. It turned out to be an English cream golden retriever. And from that point on, we didn't have a dog because my husband was actually allergic to dogs. So the rule in the house was we would never have a dog. Well, now I'm on the bucket list mode, and I had to figure a way to convince him that we could manage a dog if we moved to a different house and we got all hardwood floors and leather and shutters and the whole bit. So, all right, it's a long story to make it short. We ended up getting Brighton from the Netherlands, and that was a story in itself. And as I went through the cancer treatment, in order to stay positive, I wrote poetry throughout my treatment. And from that, I wrote a book. And the book here is called Til Carcinoma. And through each stage, like when I was laying on the table going through radiation or whatever, as I'm laying there, I would be thinking of words and phrases and so on to write the poetry. So this was really written on site in terms of cancer treatment. And so I became very integrated into what are the processes in dealing with cancer. And the first one is diagnosis. And then the next one is decisions. There's so many decisions. And then there is what's called local control, or what we call surgery. And then there's adjuvant therapy, which is the radiation chemotherapy. And then there's also alternative kind of things. And I was involved in all of those, including a spiritual insight. I did a tremendous amount of reading. I probably spent $1,000 on books, and I was reading and doing my own sacred contracts and all kinds of things like that. So in any event, I ended up, because of the need to do this bucket list when I was done, I ended up getting Brighton. And so after I had Brighton, and that was 5 years after I'd finished treatment, I ended up retiring when Brighton was 6. And I retired at the end of June. And in July, at his normal treatment, for his normal visit, he was diagnosed with a mast cell tumor. So suddenly,
Wow.
Here I am, the cancer survivor, and now I'm in 5 years, and now I end up with him with a diagnosis. So now I was again thrown into this diagnosis, which is the terrible stage of cancer, and it's terrible for people that have pets, and suddenly they're just hit with this diagnosis, and it just leaves you speechless. And so now I had it with him, and I was really stunned, and I went through the whole process with him, including surgery. And it was after surgery when I ended up having to really stay with him constantly for a month because of the fact that he had an incision on his side and so on. That's when I also ended up finding Canine Fit Club. And by that time, he was healing. He still had some hair missing on the side of his side. And I ended up meeting you. And we ended up joining Canine Fit Club because I still had to stay with him all the time, not realizing that I needed to be more fit, but it was more so about me being fit and him watching me be fit, and being unfit. And so there's a lot of funny stories. And so the whole thing with Canine Fit Club, because I am very much of like I'd written the poetry for my cancer treatment, now I ended up writing a book about Brighton. And that's this book called Brighton Morning. Now, this book here, because I worked with elementary children, this book was written for ages 8 to 11. It's a chapter book, but each chapter is about some aspect of Brighton's life, and it's written in his voice. So he tells about his life, including being in Canine Fit Club and being filled on a TV morning show, and also getting the diagnosis of cancer. And in the book, because I have a Ph.D. in educational psychology, I'm called Doc. And so now we have that book. And so he ended up doing well with the mast cell tumor. And so now we got into a normal kind of thing, but I didn't know at that point how long I would have him. I didn't know how long I would be here. With cancer, once you're a cancer alum, I call it alum rather than survivor, you just don't know. So
I like that.
In any event, we ended up visiting the Netherlands, where Brighton came from, and they had a litter of puppies that were due in December. And so I put my name in to get a puppy because I figured if I ended up losing Brighton, I would be absolutely devastated. So we got another puppy called Snowden. So part of this book is also about Brighton suddenly having a little brother come along. And so there's issues in here related to sibling rivalry. And every chapter talks about some issue that children would have, but Brighton is like the child, and things that he would, and he gives advice in each chapter about how to, quote, be right on, which is Brighton's name. It's hyphenated, be right on, Brighton. And so the subtitle of the book is Doggone Wags of Wisdom to Be Right On. So it's advice about how to do the right thing. So in any event, then it got to the point where in 2019, where Brighton was 13, and I knew that there's a limit to the lifespan of dogs. And so I knew that was coming. And I had also, in 2018, I had been on Facebook, and I had so many golden retriever followers, and it seemed like every day someone was losing a dog. So I started my own personal ministry of every day posting compassionate responses to people who had their dogs cross the Rainbow Bridge. And that now for 3 years has been my daily ministry on Facebook, to do that to anyone who is dealing with that. And so what ended up happening then is when Brighton was 13, he was diagnosed with a spleen tumor, which was suspected to be hemangiosarcoma. Now I went into the serious cancer diagnosis, and that was in September. And I had to go through rather again the decisions, whether to make the surgery, whether to just let him have what would be a hospice kind of situation, or palliative care, and so on and so forth. So that became my last book, which was published last year, which is called Brighton Morning, but it's Mourning, and it's because it's a sad saga of the passing of Brighton. And so it's about pet death, grief, and afterlife. So that's kind of my Brighton story. And Snowden is here. In the second book, Snowden has a commentary in each of the responses in Brighton's book. And then near the end of Brighton's book, the new book, as he passes away, we get a new puppy called Enzo. And so Enzo he's not here today. He's at daycare. And Snowden is here listening to the whole thing. So that's my story.
Oh, Kathy, I you have a special place in my heart. I love you so much. You have really impacted the lives of so many people through your writing, through your teaching. When you got the cancer diagnosis, as we know, November is Pet Cancer Awareness Month. When you got that diagnosis, how did it make you feel? Did you just go into like the mode because you had gone through it personally? How did you come to terms with that?
Well, it's devastating. And for having it with your pet, it seems like there's even more of a feeling of uncertainty as to how much time you actually have. Right. And you're feeling such a responsibility to make the right decisions for your pet. And it's also such a profound decision as to what is right for the pet and what is right for you as the owner. It's both. And so some of what you're dealing with is also the knowing and projecting the amount of loss and grief that you will have if something happens to that pet. And the grief is so profound. I had in my last book, I also wrote in chapter 1 about the amount of rabbits that I had in the course of 20 years. And the rabbits had much shorter life. They were lap-eared rabbits. And so about every 3.5 years, a rabbit would suddenly die, and they died very quickly. And so I had experienced a lot of grief. And there is, whether or not you've experienced a lot of it or not, the projection of knowing losing the pet is just so profound that it literally is the rug pulled out from under you. And cancer, the word cancer, once you have heard that word cancer and you have to integrate it into your own story, it is just leaves you so speechless and so profound. And that's all I can say. But then you have the responsibility Trish, of making the decision as to what to do. And you are suddenly in control of life or end of life. And for pet owners, it is so profound. And it's something that I don't think anyone except the pet owner fully realizes how profound it is. I do, because I've been through it myself. And so I consider myself having a high degree of compassion. And one of the best poems in my cancer book is called I Understand. I can't take away the pain and the heartache, but I can express to you a somewhat of a sense that I understand. And when I was going through cancer treatment, whenever I met someone who really understood, even though they couldn't help me other than knowing that they understood, it just helped.
I'm no words right now. I thank you for that. As an educational psychologist, and you've written a book specifically for 8 to 11-year-olds, what advice for a pet parent would you give for their children who may be faced with this diagnosis? What can they do? How can they explain? And what are their options?
Well, For one thing, in my last book, I talk about lifespan, and lifespan is a reality. And even with kids, if they have a pet gerbil or fish or whatever it is, or even plants or that, there is some sense that there is a limit to the amount of time in life. And so I think that there's nothing wrong with having some sense of lifespan, whether it be nature or whatever, being part of reality. Then the other part depends upon the spiritual framework within which the family exists. If they feel at all that there is some sense of spirit beyond life, they can certainly use that as a vehicle to help understand. And there are signs. I have a couple books over here that are books. One is called Connecting with Our Pets in Heaven. There are signs like a cardinal, for instance, would be a sign, but there are a lot of adults that don't feel that way. So there's no way we can transfer that onto children if the adults don't feel that way. So it all depends a lot on what the family is and their particular circumstance. I don't want to say religious belief, because the idea of seeing a cardinal or that has nothing to do with a particular church. And I want to look at the idea of spiritual, more so the spirit of the universe that infuses nature. And so the idea of infusing an appreciation of nature and that things have a limit is probably, no pun intended, but good groundwork for some of that. The hard part comes when the children see how devastated the adults are, how profound grief is. And it really is. Some adults that lose pets have more of a reaction than if they lose some family members, because the intimacy is just so close. It's so profound that you lose a part of yourself. Yeah. And at times your relationship with that animal is the only relationship that animal has with you. So it is so deep and so profound. And it's a real challenge for parents to somehow model that transition and to model handling grief. I have another book over here. It's more so written for adult grief of someone, like if they've lost a grandparent or that, but it's called Tear Soup. And it's a lovely book, and it talks about how in part of grief, we do need to have this soup prepared of the tears, and it is part of the process. And so there is certainly groundwork to be laid by laying an establishment of crying as part of being human. Yeah. And sometimes the tears that you shed are a sign of love, and the deeper the tears, the deeper the love.
Thank you for saying that, Kathy. You reached out to me when Moose passed away, and I couldn't talk to you. I think you remember that. No. You were calling me, and I could not talk. I could not, because as you mentioned, the grief of Moose had really superseded the grief of my dad who had passed away, my mom who had passed away, all these other challenges that had happened within my life. And then when Moose passed away, it was everything that I could do just to, not get off the floor. And, there was a time and I actually went, I saw the Pastoral Institute in Columbus, Georgia. I didn't want to go on. I really did not want to go on, because that's how profound and intense the grief was and how devastating that loss was. So I thank you for saying that, and how, and how people need to know that, and tell me if this is true. Do people not talk about the loss of pets enough? Do you think they hold that in because it's just a dog or just a cat or a gerbil or a fish? Do you think that's true?
I think in our culture, been involved for the last couple of years in grief webinars, and I've gotten certification as a grief educator because my husband also passed away 9 months after I lost Brighton. So I'm also in a 3-year period right now, finishing up a 3-year period of grief of a spouse, and one of the things is that you can't fully understand the grief that someone's going through entirely unless you're actually there. But the thing that we can do much better job of is witnessing for others that they are feeling grief and honoring the fact that they're feeling grief. And what I've learned through the Grief Educator program is that our society is quite grief illiterate. And we're such doers, kind of, let's go on with things, that it becomes, after a short while, embarrassing for someone to even talk about how they're actually grieving. But they are grieving tremendously. And every day when I do I have about 700 followers, whether they're a golden retriever, which is my particular breed that I connect with. They're breeders, and there's also canine cancer followers that I have. There's various groups that I follow. So every day there seems like there is someone. And I read into those responses on Facebook the incredible anguish. Anguish is a really good word. I wrote a poem about anguish in my cancer book. That is how severe is the pain that you can't describe it of having cancer and of losing a loved one. And the love that you have with that animal is so incredibly intimate and is so 24/7, and you are their whole life. And it's really good that you are expressing your level of grief. A lot of people are afraid to do that because they feel they don't have, I would call it an audience, but in the grief language, what people really need is a witness. They need someone that they can feel comfortable witnessing their grief. And that's what I'm doing right now as you're telling your beautiful story about Moose, is I can't take away your pain, but I can be a genuine witness where you feel comfortable expressing what you really went through. And that's what I can do for you now, is to be your witness. And you're my witness. Because there's very few people that I talk to about my cancer journey, because it's been there, done that. But to me, it's part of my cellular structure now that I am a cancer alum.
I am, yeah. Jessica?
So my question to you is, Kathy, is so you just talked about it, and it's fascinating because I am not your normal person. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And Trisha will tell you, I am not your average duck at all. You know what I mean? But talk about the people that, I am not. So talk about the people that don't have emotions. Like, I'm not a crier. And I will tell you that. I am not a crier. And it's not me. It's not my thing. It's not my jam. I've put down many of my own animals. And I hate to say this, and I am going to put it out there. I mean, I haven't cried at even family weddings. Like, I was at my own grandmother's funeral. My grandmother's funeral, not a tear. I mean, I'm not that. I mean, we all deal with grief differently. You know what I mean? But you also are judged because you deal with your grief differently. You know what I mean? And I've been judged because I'm not a crier. You know what I mean? So, because I'm not over there, stupid crying. You know what I mean? Because of that. You know what I mean? So can you talk on that? I mean,
well, I wonder though, I could be wrong, but I would think that you might be more accepted in our society for being more of a neutral kind of reaction rather than being a very sentimental crying reaction. Do you feel that way, that it actually is to your advantage?
No, not even close. I'm considered cold-hearted, and I can't swear because we want this to go up on Apple. So I can't swear. You know what I mean? No.
No?
No.
So it doesn't give you an advantage in our society.
No, I'm considered a bitch.
They want you to cry.
Huh? Yeah, they would.
I think you're strong. I think, Jessica, you're one of the most strongest women that I know, and I love you for that. And you're the yin to my yang. But I think that I wonder though, and Kathy, I'll let you address this. If just somewhere, someday, something's going to happen, and Jessica's just going to snap, and you're going to cry for like 5 days straight.
Yeah, I doubt it. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I doubt it. I really do. I doubt it. I mean, no offense. I've been putting Post-it notes on my parents' furniture since I was like 15 years old, claiming things when they die. My brother and I've been doing it. I don't see me crying in my 50s over anything yet. I mean,
Oh my God.
I'm not, and I'm a very compassionate person, and I'm a very, I'm a very loving person. I'm a very caring person, but that it's it's a part of life. You know what I mean? Everybody, you give birth and you die. It's part of life. You know what I mean? There's an end of life, that's part of it. I'm not, you know what I mean? But I mean, I've been ridiculed for it, you know what I mean? And I think that what I'm trying to ask you is that society nowadays looks at everybody's grief. If you don't do what they think is what's normal in grief, which I am not your normal grief, you know what I mean? That there's something wrong with me. Like, honestly, I mean, people are going to watch this and they're going to either be like, "Whew, that's my girl," or they're going to be like, "She's a serial killer." You know what I mean? And they're going to be waiting to see if Jeffrey Dahmer is like my new boyfriend. Seriously, you know what I mean? So, I mean, but you understand what I'm saying? And because people don't, you know what I mean? I'm a huge animal lover. Do have a cat named Bin Laden, but I am a huge animal lover. But I mean, it's just part of life. You know what I mean?
God bless you. Have you always been that way from the time you were a young child? Have you always had that kind of lens in which you looked at animals?
I asked my mom in first grade if she'd put me in boarding school because I thought it would be better for me to be away from the family. I also told my mom when I was in second grade that Joshua, which is my little brother, he was my child and I could raise him better than her, and that we didn't need her. So I'm a very, very independent person, and I've always been this way. I came out of the womb trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah, I've always been this way. I am literally my father's daughter. Truly am.
Well, like it or not, what you are doing right now on this podcast, Jessica, is you are demonstrating for people how you can be your own authentic self. And that's what you are. And you are expressing it to other people. Mm-hmm. And I think anyone who is dealing with anything like that, if they can be honest with a person like me, where I become your witness, but that's what we really need to do. And you've done it so beautifully that I can fully empathize with your framework, and I can honor it, and at times even feel a little bit envious that you can handle things with much less tears and passion than I can in terms of the sadness, because I would more so be labeled an empath. And the problem with being an empath is you connect with everyone else and you feel their particular pain and sadness, and you have to set up boundaries. Otherwise, it can just totally drain you. Now, as an empath, I am actually enjoying the authenticity with what you just explained, your particular self, because I could feel that you are being authentic. And seriously.
And well, that's good.
And I can't picture if you explained as you did just now how you are to other people, I can't figure why they would then discriminate against you or consider you cold-hearted when you actually explained your authentic self so beautifully.
Just because, there's not a river of tears, you know what I mean? It's just, you should, they think if society thinks you should ball your
I
head
totally
off when somebody dies, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
not all of society, and also I don't like to have gender stereotypes, but I do see a lot, in the literature that men will hold back more, and not grieve so passionately about the loss of a pet or whatever the loss might be. Nowadays we have to be so careful not to create any gender stereotypes, but I can't help but feel that sometimes there are. And in my book, the last book that I wrote, I dedicated the chapter 11 to my husband, who was more so the quiet kind of person that would have to sit and watch me in total anguish, whether I was going through cancer treatment or when Brighton died. And I would just be sobbing. And there was absolutely nothing that he could do. And I honor in that chapter the other person in their life who has to sit and watch someone who is just totally folding up emotionally inside because of what has happened. And if we think about that, like if we have Trish describing herself in terms of how she handled Moose, and then you were close to her and you were with her for that week, think about how difficult it would be for you to somehow provide some sense of friendship and love to Trish.
We struggle now, and it's years later. It's funny because even now, I mean, I help her run the non-for-profit, and every time we do a webinar, I'm like, deep breath, no tears, deep breath, no tears, deep breath, no tears. I'm telling her all the time. I'm like, we can make it no tears. We can do it afterwards. No tears during the call. No tears during the call.
I did okay today. I really did okay today, though. It is true, though, because, and I say this so complimentary that Jessica is that person that and the exact, we're alike work-wise and ethics, but from the emotional standpoint, it's totally different. Totally different. And I love that about us. I love that about us. Kathy, may I ask you a favor? Would you share one of your poems that just with our audience? I would love if you would just share one of the poems that you've written with our audience.
Sure. This is a poem in my cancer book, and every in the cancer book there's a photograph that goes along with each poem, and I did the photography myself. So this is a picture of a statue of a little girl holding an animal, and this is one of the signature poems of the book. It's called "I Understand." Oh, my child, how I long to hug you with the trinity of my spirit, for I know that you need my love, that you might share it with others. So, my child, I send you my love in the arms of my emissary, who will hold you and listen and say for me, I understand. For in the everything of being, I share my caress with so many that I appoint ambassadors to transmit my energy and my spirit so that you might feel my divine presence. The words of the emissary is a labor of love. And when the spirit is drained and expended, be sure that I will send my embrace with the voice of one who will say, I understand. And that's kind of the keynote message that I'm feeling. I feel like I've become an emissary to that message of saying to people, I understand. And Jessica, I hope you see that I am giving that message to you as much as to Trish, even though you have totally different viewpoints in terms of your lens of the particular topic. But I understand you as well, and I'm offering you, Jessica, a genuine, authentic understanding as well.
Thank you.
Kathy, it has been eye-opening to have you on this podcast. We are so honored and blessed to have you on this podcast. It was wonderful. Kathy, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? If they want, we'll have a link for the books in our within the podcast notes. But tell us how people can get a hold of you and where they can find your books.
The books are for sale on Amazon, and then they're also the last book which is the Brighton Morning book, is also covered by Balboa Press, which is the one that published it. The other two books are my own publication, which is I have a website called Instead International. And Instead is International Network Supporting Transnational Education and Diplomacy. It's an acronym. And but I have a lot of my research related to international education on there. I have poetry on there, and I have a lot of presentations that I've done at international conferences. There's all kinds of things on my website. And then also I have Facebook. On Facebook, I'm Kate Stone, and people can follow me on Facebook. I do several posts every day. The last couple of years, I've been doing every day coloring, and I color beautiful pictures, and then I post the picture with some kind of inspirational reflection that I have. I also, because a lot of my followers are golden retriever followers or dog followers, I post pictures of Snowden or Enzo. And then since my husband passed away, I've gotten into the grief community as well. And every so often I post reflections about my husband to try and model for people how to keep the spirit alive of someone so beloved that we've lost. And it's been extremely hard for me to suddenly lose my husband and to go on and find my own purpose, because we were married for 53 years. And so consequently, it's been very hard for me. And I've always tried to turn a lemon into lemonade. And I'm still working at trying to do that with the loss of a spouse right now. And then also, in terms of my dog world, it was just 2 months ago, for those that, because this is a pet broadcast, Snowden, 2 months ago, out of the clear blue, ended up with pneumonia. And I had to take him to emergency in Oak Brook. And I spent the particular vet that emergency vet was called VEG. And it's one where they allow you to stay with the dog. And I spent 48 hours with him, and I only left for a short time to go home to check my house. And he had pneumonia, and he was having a hard time keeping the mask on. And so I sat there. They let me sit right by his the crate, right, and with the door open, and I could hold his mask. So we spent 48 hours together, and he's since has recovered from that. But what we discovered through it, and they took some testing, is he had a mega esophagus, which meant an enlarged esophagus where it does not transmit the food down correctly. And so now he has to eat in a vertical position. And I have it right over here about 4 feet away from me. He now has a high chair. So he has to sit, in his high chair. Yeah.
I've seen this up like
and
that.
Otherwise, he also will come with his paws, and he'll sit with his paws up. The main thing is I have to think when he's eating or drinking that his esophagus is in a vertical position. And now I got him down to 4 meals a day. So his meals are a little smaller. And then I lay in a big chair, and then he lays on my lap with his head right here in a 45-degree angle for about 15 minutes every day and I rub his side just to be sure that his food has gone down. And this has only been in the last 2 months that this has suddenly come up. Where right now I can't travel because I can't leave him with a boarding place. I'm still working out how to possibly visit my son who lives in another state. But in any event, I guess what I'm modeling with this is another thing with cancer is you just kind of go with it when it comes. And you can't predict it, and you can't entirely control it either. And one of the things I had to learn, it was a very hard lesson for me to learn with my husband, and I had to learn it, especially with him, to say, you did the best you could, and I did the best I could. Because one of the things that's so haunting with grief is guilt. It's like, I should have done more. If only I had done this. And it's very, very, very profound when you lose your pet It's like, because you are in total control of their life. They depend so much on you to take them to the vet appointments, to feed them, to have them monitored when you're out of town, and so on and so forth. So there is a tremendous amount of guilt with losing a pet. That is a natural part of grief, but it is very, very difficult. And I had to really integrate the fact that even with Brighton, I can't say that I did the right thing by declining surgery with him, but I did the best I could for him, and I did the best I could for my husband, and my husband did the best he could to take care of his health, but he still died suddenly.
Oh,
so in any event, Kate Stone on Facebook, you can find me there, and then I have my website, and so I'm around.
Oh,
okay, and then on that note, I'm just going to tell you this: NAPS, National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. You can find a pet sitter that'll come stay at your house.
Awesome.
So you can go see your son. Look them up. You'll find a pet sitter to come take care of your dog.
You know, the one thing, Trish, too, you know that I believe in this, and I didn't mention it yet because some people think it's woo-woo, but I have synchronistic things happen all the time.
I know that. Yeah.
And the mere fact that I was asked to do this podcast, and now the fact that I've expressed a concern about how to take care of my sweet Snowden so I can visit my son, and Jessica has just given me the answer. And
yeah, I'm on the board still, so yeah, check them out. I'll help you.
It happens to me all the time. I have songs that suddenly appear in my life that I know are messages from my husband. And I post those on Facebook too. So, and Trish, you know this. You and I connected through synchronicity, Trish.
We did. Yeah, we definitely did.
Yeah. And now I've connected with Jessica. And if I can help any of you in any way, I'm available.
I love that. Kathy, thank you for being with us today. You could have spent your time with anyone, and we are so honored that you spent your afternoon with us. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Trish, I love you. And Jessica, I love you now too.
Thank you.
And I do understand. Okay. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Bye.
Remember to be right on.
Wow. That was great. And It's nice to be validated that I'm not a serial killer. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Just because
I don't know about that one, but you know, that white van you're driving around, I'm not sure about that one with the unmarked plates.
Right. I do not have a van. I did have a van for a long time, but I do not have a van. I do have a grandma car now, but I do not have a van.
She is fascinating. And I've known her, I want to say probably since 2011, 2012, about 10 years, a little bit over 10 years. But the things that I found out more about her, she is just what she gives back to people and how she gives of the 3 T's, the time, treasure, and talents, because of her knowledge and what she's gone through and that empathy. I love her.
She does. I mean, she does have a lot of empathy. I got to give her that. You know what I mean? And no offense, she's on Facebook more than I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I no. No. You know what I mean?
She's got her own, I mean, she does drawings and, and colors, and then she posts them, and she does, people reach out to her for grievance. I will tell a quick story here. When Moose passed away, she was right there, and she was calling me every day, and she was sending me text messages every day. And, and I just said to her, I can't talk. I could not talk. And she just said, you reach out when you can, but she kept checking in. And, and I think she was, she said, you need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to somebody. And, yeah, I think the world of her, and I'm just so grateful that she was able to be on Pets or Family and share with us what she went through, and she's going to help so many people with everything. I think she is.
No, I agree. You know what I mean? The world needs people like her. You know what I mean? And and she's a good friend, like I said, I mean, Teddy's my heart dog. I mean, he's just my little love bug and pride and joy. And I'll be upset when he leaves, but I guarantee you I'm not going to be crying for 5 days. I maybe 5 minutes.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
It is.
maybe.
And I think, well, no, because I think it's validation of understanding that we all grieve in different ways. And just because you're emotionless and cold doesn't mean anything.
Well, but I wanted to bring that up though, because it doesn't mean I don't care. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people like me though. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I get it. I have people in my life that are like that. That's just like, snap out of it. Basically, I remember in Moonstruck when Sherry snap out of it.
And I get it that people are that way, and I don't want to take away from them, but I'm not. But I don't want you to think that because I'm not bawling for 5 days that what I mean, I didn't care about my dog. You know what I mean? Or because I didn't cry. Yeah,
it is a different way of grieving, and we all have different. We have different ways, and I think that. I believe just talking about things, whatever grief that you have and whatever emotions that you have, I think that in and of itself is dealing with grief, even pre-grief, even talking about things now, if it hasn't even happened yet, right?
Yeah, once again, we're going back to the sticky notes, on furniture. I knew that just floored you. I mean...
That scares me. My mom used to say, don't forget, and I'm like, and both my mom and dad have passed away. And I'm like, don't, I don't want to know. Stop. I don't like to talk.
My little brother and I've been doing that since I mean, I can't even remember. It was not quite 15 or 18, but I mean, we've been doing it since our 20s, honestly, like the big items.
This is mine. This is mine.
Yeah, we just put our name on it, just like, but it's funny because neither of us ever wanted anything the same. So, but we always just put our sticky note. My parents moved one time and they were like, there's a picture. It's awful. There's a big picture my dad loves. It's awful. My brother loves it too. And they took it off the wall. My dad's like, why is there a sticky note with Josh's name on it? Right. And then my great grandfather built this hutch for my great-great-grandmother, right? And I'm laughing because my name is on a piece of paper underneath. My mom's like, there's one for Jess over here, too. They've had, like, random ones on this last move, and they were like, they called us, and they were like, why are there sticky notes with all your names on it? And I'm like, oh, that's the furniture we want when you guys die. My dad was like, oh, that's smart. My dad was like, my mother's like, you children are twisted. My dad's like, oh, that's very smart. I'm like,
oh my God. Jessica, it was a delight today.
It was.
We want to thank the people that are part of us. We are thanking our sponsors, Volition Veterinary. Just thank you for being the best. You guys are making a really a big impact in early detection of pet cancer. You're now available in the UK and in Ireland. And that partnership, want to give a shout out to the team at Volition Veterinary. Thank you for everything that you're doing for early detection, for supporting Mrs. March. That's our charity. And just, Jessica, I thank you today because I love you. Love you to the moon.
Well, I thank you too. Justin, we got to give him a shout out, even though we've been talking about him all day. Justin and the team, we love you. And Naps, hey, I even talked about you. Kathy Delaney, I forgot to talk about her the last two. So, Miss Kathy,
I talked about
we love, we love you. Yeah, we love you at the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. Woo-hoo. And I think that's it today. So on that note, we're going to wrap her up and say, how do you make your family? I do this every week. How do you make your family feel like pets? How do you make your pets feel like family? On that note, have a great one, guys. And we'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to Pets Are Family. You can find us on all the channels now. Yes, all of the channels now. So make sure you share us with your friends, your families, and your coworkers, and anybody that has a pet. Make sure you like us, give us your feedback, tell us if anything that you want us to talk about, all that fun stuff. You can reach me at jessica@petsourfamily.net or trisha@petsourfamily.net. Thank you for everything that you guys do, but make sure you like us, subscribe, check us out on YouTube. You can always see what we're up to. And we want to thank all of our sponsors, all of the people that support us. We love every one of you, and we can't thank you enough. And remember, check out Moose's March, moosesmarch.com, moosesmarch.com. Come check us out. Talk to you guys soon. We'll see you next week. Bye.